Very optimistic about the upcoming season. I think that with a somewhat senior-laden basketball team returning, 5 seniors, obviously Destiny Tejada now joining in to well-round that to make that group well-rounded, will certainly be to our advantage in every way. We've been at it now for about almost 20 practices, and I think the one thing that I'm real pleased with is effort for the most part. We'll kind of go in and out of it at times, but I think at the end of the day, not just now, but the entire season is going to be predicated on our consistency or lack of, and obviously that's going to be a direct result of the I guess to solve the riddle or the puzzle as far as the W or the L. But we are optimistic about a lot of things. I think we're certainly have a very, very solid foundation, a lot of experience, a lot of scoring coming back with only the loss of Porsche. Now, I said that tongue-in-cheek. Obviously, that's a huge, huge piece to the puzzle to lose. I don't know that you ever replace a Porsche Landry, but we're certainly going to do what we can do and may have to do it via committee, so to speak, from a point guard standpoint. But with all that being said, again, thanks for being here, and I'll open up for any questions. Hey, Jerry. Yeah, that's a great question. We've got one scrimmage under our belt, and I think it certainly brought to the light certainly what we need to do and what we need to improve on in every way from a basketball standpoint, and probably from a sense of urgency standpoint. And I think from a coaching standpoint, and hopefully as well from a player standpoint, the one thing that I hope we learned that was so invaluable for that was the way the officiating is going to be. Our game is completely changed as far as contact, lack of contact. We're not going to be able to alter anybody's cuts. All the hand check, arm bar stuff is going to be called immediately. So we got a lot of work to do in that phase of changing and adjusting. No, I mean, I think that, for us to grow, and not just here at the University of Houston, specifically for our program, but as a conference, a new conference, a new brand, I think it's the best way to go about doing what we need to do to put a schedule together. I think we need that name recognition. I think anytime you have 2 teams that played for the national title a year ago, and one that has 8 championships under their belt, I think anytime you can brand that with a conference and use them to catapult you and use those things to your advantage from you guys, from a media standpoint, obviously from a recruiting standpoint, I think that's certainly what we have to do. Did I answer your question?
Todd, you had mentioned the committee aspect at the point. Can you kind of give us an idea of some of the candidates you're looking at, or the young ladies that'll be at least starting off there working at that position? And then would you mind just kind of taking us through the different positions? I know you have 4 returners, just who you have at the different spots and what, kind of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Just the committee aspect of the point. Can you just tell me?
Oh, via
tell
committee.
Us who,
I got you.
Who's working at that position?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that obviously Demetria Foreman, you guys will get to know her. She's a junior college transfer from Angelina Junior College, right down the road from Lufkin. She's a Dallas kid, won a state championship, was a teammate of Alexis Jones, who's now at Duke. Back they were teammates in high school, and like I said, like I alluded to there, they won a state championship there in Dallas, and right now she's, that's what we brought her here for, is to run our basketball team. You'll know her better as Pookie as time goes on. That's her nickname, and it's kind of a double-edged sword with her. I love the kid to death, and her demeanor is extremely she's kind of ice. She's got ice in her veins. I love that about her because there's always a sense of calmness to her and poise. But then there's the other side of it that where, I'm still learning how to read her, to be honest. And at times I'd like for her to probably show a little more facial expression or body language, somehow, some way. But I think, at the end of the day, she's got the 2 years of junior college experience under her belt, and obviously the games that we're going to play, the arenas that we're going to be in, we're going to need that experience. Obviously, Alicia Smith is a returner from a year ago. Had a great freshman campaign for the most part. She can also, that via committee thing, it's, she's another one that can obviously run the show at the point guard position. Obviously, the other one I was alluding to would be Bianca Winslow. And I think that with that, being said, with those three, that's kind of the via committee. Bianca had a huge game, against Rice at Rice a year ago when we found ourselves, having Porsche Landing in foul trouble and down, I think it was 17 or 19, and came in and did a great job of helping us come back and weathering the storm to come back to win that basketball game. And I know that gave her a lot of confidence going into, the rest of the season and certainly going into her sophomore campaign as well. From a wing standpoint, you've got Marsha Emerson, who, all conference last year as a freshman. The one thing about Marsha, and we had a really good, one-on-one conversation yesterday, is that, there's two things that I'm going to really not compromise with her on this year, and that's leadership, and that's the consistency factor. And we've talked about that on and off. I think that if we can get more consistently individually, specifically talking to her as well as collectively as all the others, then obviously our basketball team becomes a better basketball team automatically. You've got, obviously, Yasmin Thompson, who led the country in field goal percentage, one of the best in the country even at the end of the year, but certainly for several months during the year she was leading the country, in that category. Obviously, her and Tiana Campbell, were dominant on the boards. But I think the one thing with YT, we've got to get her more touches. Obviously if a kid's shooting 50+% from the field, we got to find a way to get her more touches and get her more opportunities to score the basketball. Tiana Campbell, another, that 3-4 combination player. She was very productive last year, as I said. From a defensive specialist, the steal-wise category and obviously the rebound category, she was phenomenal. And I think, as I alluded to with Marche, and really our whole basketball team, the one area I think, she's got to be better at is she's got to be more consistently. She sometimes, struggles with her shot, to be quite frank and honest, but it's not because she's not capable. It's not because she doesn't have the talent. She worked on it a tremendous amount through the summer, and I feel like, she's much, much improved in that area. And we're going to need it, obviously. I think the other person that, will certainly be a huge mix, as I talked about earlier, is Destiny Tejada. She's finally healthy. She's finally eligible. She's back. She's got her senior year to play. Obviously played for me, when we were across the street, at Houston Baptist. Very, very high energy kid, player. I think she can guard pretty much 1 through 5 at times, put a lot of pressure on the basketball, and obviously that's how we want to play. And looking really, really forward to her leadership.
Coach, would you say it's been easier to approach your team this season with better communication, whereas last year you had a lot of incoming freshmen and incoming transfers that were primarily the starters and key bench players? Now that they're here, like now most of them are back, would you say it's been easier, right? Whereas last year?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment. Fair question as far as, with everybody coming back. I don't. We still have had tons to teach. From a coaching basketball scenario, but I don't feel like we're, I guess for a lack of a better way to put it, I don't feel like we're as behind as I felt like we probably were at this time a year ago. And I think a lot of that, though, is a direct result of this summer have been, the first summer we could, work with our players during that summer school, 2-month period that we've never had before. I think that, and obviously starting practice, you get the 40, the 30 practices, but not within the 40 days before your first contest. And so I think with all those pieces to the puzzle now being put together, and obviously great resources for us to not feel like, okay, October the 15th, here we go, we're starting practice, and then you're going to play your first contest within 3 weeks. So I do feel like the communication is much better, and that we're ahead of where we were a year ago.
Todd, what do you see as the biggest adjustment that you're going to have to make with the conference switch? Whether, team play-wise, type of player, travel, or just, what do you see as being the biggest issue you're going to have to deal with?
Everything you just said. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, it's one of the, if not, Coach Dickey's going to have to fight the same fights. Louisville won the national championship on the men's side. University of Connecticut won it on the women's side, and Louisville played on the women's side of Connecticut for the national title, and that's all well documented, and everybody knows that. But we're in waters that we haven't been in. Quite frankly, as far as the territory that we're going, and we fought some of those battles when I was here. The first go around when I was the associate coach recruiting coordinator, when we had the Georgias and the Louisiana Techs, and going to the NCAA tournament and playing in the NIT national championship game against 10,000 or so at Oregon for the NIT national championship. Then those are the experiences that you go back on, and you try to draw strength from, and help prepare not players, staff, everybody for what we're going to. But I mean, I can't. At the end of the day, I don't know if there's just one hurdle that obviously travel's going to be a huge part of it, and we're going to do it the best way that we know how to do it, and the smartest way we can do it. That's definitely a huge hurdle when you're going from the campuses that we're going to be going to. I think the other part of it is that we're going to have to be really smart as coaches, from a practice standpoint, from not giving them too much too quick with certain turnarounds. I think the last piece to what to really answer that question from my mindset is walking into arenas with 15 to 20,000 people. I think that's the other preparation that is going to be the most difficult, because unless you can't simulate that. You can simulate a lot of things in practice, but you can't simulate 15, 20,000 people sitting in an arena when you walk in and there's 8 national championship banners or X amount of Final Four banners or whatever it might be. Great point, Jerry. And it's, I think, huge. I think it's the biggest rule change in our game, the 10-second backcourt, since the three-point line was put in. I think, obviously, the way we want to play and the pressing, trapping style that we try to simulate on the court, will hopefully, be to our advantage. And I think that, we're already accustomed to that. And I think there's a lot of coaches in the country that are probably, maybe, hesitant with it, for a lack of a better way to put it, because, we press, so we get to practice it every day in practice. And, a lot of people probably never work on a press, but now they're going to, because I do. I just think, I think certain people are underestimating how big of a factor that's going to be. Because you would think if you do that, with the 10-second backcourt rule, you would think that you might put an extra 5 seconds on the shot clock and do what the guys do. And instead of being at 30 still, it'd be at 35. But we haven't done that. So, I think with the other part of the rule changes, as I alluded to earlier, the hand check, the arm bar, just the the physicality. They're trying to take as much physicality out of our game as possible and make it more fluid and as high scoring as we can make it. And I've made the argument for the last couple years. If you want the scoring to be higher, then why did we back up the 3-point line? I mean, statistics will show you that we weren't just overwhelmingly shooting it, at the Division I level, 1 through whatever it is, 356 schools now, plus for I think that to be, a reason for why we did what we did. But at the end of the day, they haven't directly called and asked my opinion, so. Thanks, everybody.